Hey everyone, my name is Paul, and in this video I'm going to walk you through some of the highlights of the new 2015 version of Church Helpmate. Now, just a quick few points before we get started. First, in this video we're just covering the enhancements implemented between the 2013 version and the 2015 versions of Church Helpmate. So I'm going to assume for this video that you're already familiar with the 2013 version of Church Helpmate. So this particular video is not really designed for folks who are brand new to the Church Helpmate product. Secondly, we're just going to cover, we're going to focus on the highlights of the 2015 version. We do have a document that details all of the enhancements, and I'll make sure that we provide a link to that document under the comments for this video. Okay, let's get started. One of the enhancements that you'll notice right away is that we've implemented a new, cleaner, and more user-friendly graphic design, creating a more visually simplified and streamlined interface. I will point out that we've changed the symbols or icons for several of the program's modules, but I believe the new icons are very self-explanatory and quite intuitive. The user interface improvements also include some tweaks to the user interface beyond just the cosmetic aspects. For example, let's take a look at the top portion of the household detail form. Buttons that aren't currently available to the user are actually now completely hidden, as opposed to still being visible but just disabled as in the older versions of the product. So for example, when the detail form is in locked mode, buttons such as save, delete, and so forth are completely hidden, making for a cleaner and more simplified interface. Also on the household detail form, as well as the individual detail form and the contact detail form, we've enhanced the Notes tab by adding a little symbol to the Notes tab label if there are any notes stored for the current record. This enables you to quickly know whether or not a record has notes without having to actually select the Notes tab and click through the three note buttons. We've done a very similar thing with the connection detail form by enhancing the follow-up tab, where the follow-up tab label will also display info about the status of the follow-up without you actually having to click on the follow-up tab. Okay, so let's move on. We've implemented a couple of really nice enhancements to the Explorer view screens. One is the option to have the Explorer view automatically select Show All from the left-hand side of the Explorer view to automatically display all the records when you first open the Explorer view. So for example, when you open the Households Explorer, Show All Households is automatically selected and the Explorer is populated with all of the household records in your database. This behavior is controlled by a user setting and is enabled by default. In the Explorer View forms, we've also added scrolling support with mouse wheels. So you can scroll up and down the Explorer View lists using the wheel on your mouse. Also in the Explorer Views, we've provided the ability to select multiple criteria from the left-hand filter controls, allowing you to build custom filtering criteria on the fly. For example, from the Individuals Explorer filter controls on the left-hand side, if I hold down the control button on my keyboard while I'm clicking the mouse, I can now select multiple items, let's say based on their name fields, their household position, membership status, and so on. This capability has been added to the Households Explorer, the Individuals Explorer, the Contacts Explorer, and the Connections Explorer. And remember, you can always generate a printout of the Explorer View data using the print button at the top of the Explorer View toolbar area. Okay, so let's move on to some of the reporting and output enhancements that we've implemented in the 2015 version. When creating directory reports from the individual output configurator and the group membership output configurator, you can now choose to include name and contact info about household main contact individuals under each individual's entry in the directory. So for example, let's suppose I'm creating a group directory for a children's Sunday school class. Well, I can now choose to display name and contact info for parents of the children that are listed in this directory now. We've also added kind of as a side note, we've added this capability to the connection detail report as well. With respect to reporting, one of the requests that we were regularly receiving from users was to add cell phone and email address info to more reports. And so we made sure to do this in the 2015 version. We've implemented this into various reports throughout the system, including the individual milestone reports, the meeting absentee reports, X-time attendance reports, and connection detail reports. As you may have already noticed, we've redesigned the Print Preview toolbar with a streamlined Print Preview menu that's displayed along the left-hand side of the screen whenever print previewing reports. When choosing to export to PDF, rich text format, and Excel files, you're now given the option for the location and the file name of the resulting file up front as you're creating the file. Also, with respect to the Export PDF option, we're now utilizing a built-in PDF converter as opposed to the Win2PDF third-party converter that we were previously using, so you won't get any of the nag screens or nag pages at the end of your PDF files that were sometimes displayed by Win2PDF. Something else that we've done with any of the output configurators that have a filter tab, we've added a button on the filter tab that displays a count of the number of records that meet the specified criteria and the number of records that would be included in the output. Many times you might just want a count of the number of households or individuals that meet a certain criteria that you've set up on the filter tab without really needing an actual report. So this is a quick and easy way to just get that count. We've enhanced the household profile report to now include name, phone number, address, birthdays, and wedding anniversary information for household family members. Previously, this information would have required also running an individual profile report for each of the family members. Okay, well, let's switch gears a little bit and talk about email. Email is obviously becoming more and more of a useful tool for churches to communicate with their congregation. So with the 2015 version, we wanted to be sure to add some nice enhancements with respect to the email capabilities. One of the things that we've done is that on several of the output configurators that have an email tab, we've implemented a new send mode option that allows the user some additional flexibility in terms of the actual target recipients of their email messages. This enhancement now allows the user to include in the email delivery not just the target individuals that meet the filter criteria of the output configurator, as was in the case in previous versions, but also the main contacts from the households of these target individuals. You can even choose to exclude the actual target individuals from the email delivery and just send the email to their household's main contacts. This is great when working with groups of kids, such as Sunday school classes and youth groups, since this provides a quick and easy way to email the parents of the children in any of these groups as opposed to the actual kids in the group. We've also implemented an important change with respect to email addresses in Church Helpmate. When the very first version of Church Helpmate was developed back in the mid-90s, it was very common for a single email address to be shared for an entire family. For example, the Smith family at AOL.com. So we provided a household email address field for this purpose. However, over the past 20 years since then, email addresses really have become something specific to a person, such as a cell phone number, and therefore something that would be stored under the individual records in Church Helpmate, not under a household record. The household email address in previous versions of Church Helpmate created a lot of confusion over the years, as some users were sometimes entering email addresses under the household record that were obviously a person-specific email address, such as johnsmith@gmail.com, and should have been instead stored under the individual's record in the individual detail form. Today, household-based email addresses really are non-existent, and therefore to eliminate any further confusion, we've gone ahead and discontinued the household email address field in the 2015 version. As with previous versions, there are 2 email address fields for each individual, for each person, on the individual detail form. Okay, let's switch now to the contributions module of Church Helpmate. In previous versions, the contribution transfer wizard allowed you to quickly transfer contributions from one contributor to another contributor. In the 2015 version, we've enhanced this tool to now include the ability to transfer contributions from one fund to another fund, which can be helpful if you are consolidating or maybe rearranging your funds. In recent years, as more and more churches are trying to reduce their expenses, we've had requests to be able to produce double-sided contribution and pledge statements using the duplex printing feature. In previous versions, unfortunately, this really wasn't possible, since you'd end up with part of one contributor's statement on the front side of a page and a different contributor's statement on the back side of the paper of that page. So in Church Helpmate 2015, we've added a new option that will add the necessary blank pages between statements to support this double-sided printing, which should be a big help to those users who have a duplex-capable printer. We've added a new 4-year annual comparison report style to the Contribution Summary Report Configurator, which is a very helpful and insightful report if you've been using Church Helpmate for more than a couple of years, as it compares annual figures for each of your contribution funds across a 4-year period. Okay, one more thing I wanted to share with you, and that is that we've redesigned and simplified the Setup and Preferences section of the program to centralize and consolidate the various multiple setup and preference screens that were used in previous versions into one single intuitive settings form. Here you will find church settings, which are church-wide settings that are stored in the Church Helpmate data file and shared among all users from your church. You'll also find user settings, which are settings that are customizable for your user login. We've actually increased the number of these user settings so that users now have more personalized control. And finally, there are computer settings, which are settings that are stored with the computer and shared by all users that run Church Helpmate from that specific computer. Okay, well, there's a lot more to the 2015 version of Church Helpmate, but we've covered many of the highlights that we wanted to share and make you aware of, and I hope this video has been helpful. Thanks so much for being part of the Helpmate family.